Part One, Chapter One, Sections 1 and 2 of The Possessed. This is the LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. The Possessed by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. Translated by Constance Garnett. Chapter 1. Epilogue. Strike me dead, the track has vanished. Well, what now? We've lost the way. Demons have bewitched our horses, led us in the wilds astray. What a number! Whither drift they? What's the mournful dirge they sing? Do they hail a witch's marriage, or a goblin's burying? Alexander Pushkin. And there was one herd of many swine feeding on this mountain. And they besought him that he would suffer them to enter into them. And he suffered them. Then went the devils out of the man and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the lake, and were choked. When they that fed them saw what was done, they fled, and went and told it in the city and in the country. Then they went out to see what was done, and came to Jesus, and found the man, out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Luke, chapter 8, verses 32 to 37. Part 1, Chapter 1, Introductory. Some details of the biography of that highly respected gentleman, Stepan Trofimovitch Verhovensky. Section 1. In undertaking to describe the recent and strange incidents in our town, till lately wrapped in uneventful obscurity, I find myself forced, in absence of literary skill, to begin my story rather far back, that is to say, with certain biographical details concerning that talented and highly esteemed gentleman, Stepan Trofimovitch Verhovensky. I trust that these details may at least serve as an introduction, while my projected story itself will come later. I will say at once that Stepan Trofimovitch had always filled a particular rôle among us, that of the progressive patriot, so to say. And he was passionately fond of playing the part, so much so that I really believe he could not have existed without it. Not that I would put him on a level with an actor at a theatre, God forbid, for I really have a respect for him. This may all have been the effect of habit, or rather, more exactly, of a generous propensity he had, from his earliest years, for indulging in an agreeable day dream in which he figured as a picturesque public character. He fondly loved, for instance, his position as a "persecuted man," and, so to speak, an exile. There is a sort of traditional glamour about those two little words that fascinated him once for all, and, exalting him gradually in his own opinion, raised him in the course of years to a lofty pedestal very gratifying to vanity. In an English satire of the last century, Gulliver, returning from the land of the Lilliputians, where the people were only 3 or 4 inches high, had grown so accustomed to consider himself a giant among them, that as he walked along the streets of London he could not help crying out to carriagers and passers by to be careful and get out of his way for fear he should crush them, imagining that they were little and he was still a giant. He was laughed at and abused for it, and rough coachmen even lashed at the giant with their whips. But was that just? What may not be done by habit? Habit had brought Stepan Trofimovitch almost to the same position, but in a more innocent and inoffensive form, if one may use such expressions, for he was a most excellent man. I am even inclined to suppose that towards the end he had been entirely forgotten everywhere, but still it cannot be said that his name had never been known. It is beyond question that he had at one time belonged to a certain distinguished constellation of celebrated leaders of the last generation, and at one time, though only for the briefest moment, his name was pronounced by many hasty persons of that day almost as though it were on a level with the names of Tchadaev, of Byelinsky, of Granovsky, and of Herzen, who had only just begun to write abroad. But Stepan Trofimovitch's activity ceased almost at the moment it began, owing, so to say, to a vortex of combined circumstances. And would you believe it? It turned out afterwards that there
Sample complete. Ready to continue?